This is how we do it.
Hey everybody, this is Charles Hall and I'm head brewer here at Brieux. We've gotten a few questions and comments about this new beer that we've released recently, the Voodoo Chicken Magic, which is a barrel-aged sour beer. So I figured I'd talk a little bit about the design process, how we brewed it, and ultimately how it came out. So let's talk about it. Alright, so the way this beer kind of design process started was initially our assistant brewer Grant went on to a Facebook beer group called the Church of the Sacred Brew, and basically asked the church what they would like to see us brew. One of the submissions was from Mitch Gritman, who was home brewing at the time, and he said to basically do a collaboration with him on a barrel-aged sour beer, and that ended up winning the overall poll. So that kind of jump-started our sour program a little bit a couple months before we were ready to start. So we told people that it was going to be a very long project to actually see this beer come out, and that was nearly 2 years ago. So basically we had to start the program, so we had to find a spot to put barrels that would be somewhat isolated from the rest of the brewery to minimize chance of cross-contamination. And we started speaking with Mitch about what we wanted the beer to ultimately come out like. We knew we wanted something just like a golden sour base, basically. We wanted to age it in wine barrels for at least 6 months, and we really wanted some of those tannic wine-like qualities from the oak to shine through in the final beer. So when we first started designing the recipe for this beer, we got with Mitch to discuss kind of his base beer that he likes to use to ferment sours with. He kind of guided us towards a pretty simple saison base with Pilsner, Vienna, and then some high protein malts like wheat and oats. So that's what we did, and then we added a very small amount of hops to keep some of the sourness at bay, so it's not just a complete sour bomb. Then we fermented it with a saison yeast in our stainless steel tank for about a week until it was basically done fermenting, and then we transferred it to a Sauvignon Blanc barrel, and that's when we added the bacteria. So we got with Mitch, and he brought some of his home cultures that he's been propping up and saving and fermenting beers with for years. So he brought his house yeast culture, and then we added some other bottled dregs as well. So then it ended up sitting in that barrel for about 11 months before we were happy with the way it was tasting. So we would taste it intermittently, every 4 or 5 months to see how it was coming along. And then towards the end it started tasting really good. So that's when we finally decided to pull it out of the barrel, and ultimately we decided to bottle condition most of this beer. So we added some fresh champagne yeast and some sugar, put it in a bottle, and then let it sit for a month or two to carbonate all the way and kind of really solidify all those flavors together. So one thing I also should note is this project started with when Mitch was just a home brewer, but now he's the head brewer at Zony Mash Beer Project, so we're really happy for him and happy for New Orleans that somebody that talented is making production sour beers now. So I want to get into the flavor and smells a little bit, and first off, the oak is huge on this beer and it really comes through. It's very funky and dry on the nose, and the flavors follow right along. It has more of a citrus kick than I kind of expected, which I really actually love. So cheers, we love it.
This is how we do it.
What do I do with my hands?
Big, strong hands.